Today is Eid al-Fitr and Nauroz for a combined Muslim population of 2 billion and maybe a maximum of 100 of their leaders who have done very little, if anything, to safeguard the well-being and life of their own citizens, except to safeguard their own backsides across the so-called Muslim world. Very hard to find a leader who's really, truly worried about safeguarding their own population. This morning, I would like to first start out by focusing on a story that is coming out of Iran, and it is beyond tragic. And that is that Iranian parents of the 175 to 180 children who were killed in the school strike in Minab are spending each night sleeping near the graves of their children. Since their children were buried, they are sleeping near their graves every night. That should shatter the heart of anybody who has a heart. A Tomahawk missile, apparently, not one strike, but 2 strikes, if not 3, devastated and massacred these children and has devastated their families forever. And in Gaza, most likely, most parents who have survived and their children have perished don't even have graves. There are so many people buried under the rubble. Then there are entire bloodlines that have been wiped out. So there is nobody to grieve. Then there are thousands upon thousands of children with no surviving relative. So who is grieving? Who is there to grieve for these people? And in Lebanon, where now over 1,000 people have been massacred, including hundreds of children. So unlike Gaza, where Israel refused to acknowledge the death toll until they were forced to recently, of over 70,000 people, perhaps more, being massacred, unlike that, there is no denial of the number coming out of Iran, which is over 3,000 people have perished and hundreds of children. Because it is in the interest of the US and Israel to say, yes, so many people have died. See, we can destroy you. They're trying to encourage Iranians from coming out into the streets and overthrowing their government. So they're not contesting the death toll. This is how Nauroz is coming upon Iranians. And Eid al-Fitr is coming upon Muslims across the world. The news that's bubbling to the top today is that Donald Trump is considering putting troops on the ground in Kharg Island and occupying it to destroy Iran's ability to survive economically and to force open the Strait of Hormuz. That's the thinking. Of course, no thought to what this means for American service members and the potential death toll for them. No thought about that at all. I think Donald Trump is now addicted to occupation, invasion, destruction, inspired by Netanyahu. So let's see how that unfolds. But also today we know that the foreign minister of Oman, the man who was in the rooms wrote an op-ed in The Economist saying that Israel is to blame for dragging the US into this war and for misinforming the US as to what Iran had agreed to. This man was in the room, and if you remember, he rushed to the US just before the attack to try to stop it and told the American public via its networks, television networks, that Iran had agreed to much more than they had in 2015. He is saying, like Jonathan Powell and the Brits, that Israel dragged the US into this war. There is that. Then we are so focused on prices of oil. There are many people who are sounding the alarm about the shipments of fertilizer being choked off. It is planting season. American farmers are supposed to be Trump's base. And American farmers are saying the price of fertilizer now is not sustainable. Access to fertilizer is choked off, and they are getting desperate. So this is very much an own goal for the Trump administration. It is also a real crisis for food production around the world. If countries cannot get fertilizer in a timely manner, they are not going to be able to plant. And that will create huge food shortages. People are saying this may be World War III. It is a world war. Every country is either implicated or is suffering from it, or its people are suffering from it. It is already a world war. That is where we are today. It is Eid al-Fitr. Israel has once again barred Muslim worshippers from praying at Al-Aqsa Mosque, pointing guns at them, bludgeoning them as they tried to pray outside the premises. It is one of the holiest sites for Muslims all over the world. The king of Jordan is supposed to be the supremo over Al-Aqsa. Fat lot of good he's doing in every way. So while Muslims are trying to pray near Al-Aqsa, they were being bludgeoned by the IDF and the Israeli police. That is what Muslims around the world are seeing today. But despite that, there are Eid al-Fitr prayers all over the world. So Eid Mubarak to everybody who is celebrating or commemorating, and Nauroz Mubarak to the Persians and the people of Iran who are in grave peril. So today, let us please remember the parents who are sleeping near the graves of their children, for the parents who have no graves to grieve over in Gaza, for the children who have no parents, for entire bloodlines that have been destroyed and people are buried under the rubble in Gaza, for those people being humiliated and killed in the West Bank, for the people being bombarded and displaced in Lebanon. How many Muslims do we count who are now being threatened with bombs and destructions and buildings being collapsed and being humiliated on a daily basis? People should not have to be resilient, but they are, and it is their faith, and it is family and communities that is holding all this together for them. So Eid Mubarak to the 2 billion Muslims around the world. And may God give some sense to their leaders in this horrible situation that we are all facing.